Yeah, he definitely did not make it. He
Yeah,
wasn't.
he
He
didn't.
was.
He didn't do too well. People quit rushing the stage on comedians, and like Will Smith started a whole new fad now, and I couldn't disagree with what's going on more. It's absurd. It's absurd. Oh
This
my
is
goodness.
my
That dude
cat.
got beat up. His body parts are turned in the opposite direction.
Gotta
It's
gotta
unreal.
kick my cat out of the room. Obviously, he wanted to have a part of the show today.
Max try and get up in the show. We can let him up in here. We
He's
doing it
definitely
live though. Bill O'Reilly has issues with going live, but we doing it live.
We'll do it live. You can't even get it right after 5 takes. Why would I?
Whoops, that's the wrong one. Now we're ending with that one, but Bill O'Reilly is really here.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
Thing sucks. Have you seen that Bill O'Reilly?
Yeah, I've seen plenty of Bill O'Reilly over time. He's definitely he's a character, man.
Yes, he is. Yes, we have more behind the scenes footage of that scene at the end of the show, so everybody check it out. This is IUWEBGE, was it? What's up, everybody? It's the crew here. Well, half of us here today to break down some sports for you. We're talking local sports stories. We're gonna talk about suspensions in sports and like are they fair? What's going on with them? What's happening? Some of the rules. Fantasy for dinner. Hey, now we switched it up a little bit, but we're gonna give you our tight end dynasty rankings, top 10 rankings, and also some quick takes for you today. But first and foremost, we're going to stick to the local scene. We're going to give people some shout outs, their due diligence and everything like that. So Joski Doski, that big ass check back there, boy. What you got for your local take today?
For one, I just decided last second that I like doing this show right now with these glasses on. So I gotta get my green in touch because we definitely have a big game here tonight. The Boston Celtics do so. But what's up to all the listeners out there? What's up to a lot of people, man? Like, we appreciate you guys joining in and watching every single week. And, we got a heck of a show for you guys today for sure.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it, man. So did you pick up any local heroes this week? You see anything going on that caught your eye?
So I think everyone knows that I wasn't on the show last week. I was recovering from the nasty vid, unfortunately, but I'm doing better now. So, my local this week, I kind of want to touch on some of the stuff that that I had queued up for the draft with the Browns. So one of the big ones, and I won't go into all of my details because man, did I have notes, and I mean notes for days. But just kind of like running back on some of their picks, even that third round pick that they had at 68, Martin Emerson. I think everyone really knew going into this draft that the Browns' need primarily was at wide receiver, defensive tackle, and defensive end. So it might have been a little bit of a concern, or maybe kind of why the hell would we go with this pick type situation here. But I think that they felt pretty good about who they could actually pick up later in the draft. Mm-hmm. And it was actually a very, very smart move. We know that they lost a lot of picks with all of the acquisitions in this offseason. So I think it was a smart move to go ahead and trade away trade down that second round and go ahead and get those 3 picks that they can use later on. So just to cue in with the very first one, like I said, round 3, pick 68 was Martin Emerson, a cornerback from Mississippi State. What I've seen from this guy so far, I mean, it looks like someone that can really be developed. And I think a lot of people were asking, though, once again, because we knew those positions that they needed to fill, why go get a cornerback when you have Greg Newsome, Greedy Williams, Troy Hill, Denzel Ward? You just gave him that deal. Why go get him? Well, this is one thing that I don't think a lot of people thought about, and this is why I actually chose this for my local flavor. Look at what just happened in the AFC. It is loaded now. we're talking about man, it has the potential to be the conference like the NFC was in the early '90s when I believe that the NFC won 10 straight Super Bowls or something along the line. Might have been 12. The AFC may be looking down that line. You have obviously Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen doing their thing. Watson obviously he's on our side, so that works out in our favor. But Russell Wilson's now in there. How much better is Justin Herbert going to get? It is deep. So we're looking at a position now, especially with guys who get injured a lot already. If you look at some of these cornerbacks that we have, but it might not be a bad idea to have depth at that position.
That was my argument. Yep.
This is like, yeah, it's something that's going to be very, very much underrated because you're going to have to somehow slow these guys down. If you don't, you kind of turn and the example that I'm going to use here is look at Tampa Bay last year. Tampa Bay went from being the dominant team that won the Super Bowl 2 years ago to having some injuries in the secondary from the beginning of the season to midseason. I mean, I think at one point they were sitting here trying to throw Richard Sherman out there and have him play like all of the snaps. So, you don't want to end up in a situation like that because you realize how much it can really, really, really hurt your success. And I think Cleveland was maybe thinking about that a little bit when they made this pick, especially, like I said, knowing that they can go and address wide receiver later on down the line and defensive end. And, we're still expected to re-sign Clowney, I believe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
He's not a lock, but that's the reason that they went and got Alex Wright with their very next pick. That was the reason for that. And like you said, David Bell came after that. Yep. And I really like David Bell. I love David Bell. The hands are legit. They're legit. The guy's going to catch everything. I think his catch rate was one of the lowest in college football last year. It was like 4.6 or something like that. It was really good. So the guy is good. His 40 time was slow. That was the reason why he fell like he did. But like Jerry Rice's 40 time was slow. There's other people who came out who were not as fast as the others, basically. But really, what does that matter? It's just kind of like quarterback. Like whoever has the strongest arm in the league usually doesn't even start. They're not even a starter. Like the strongest arm does not get you a spot on the football field if you're a quarterback. It definitely doesn't. And as a wide receiver, you don't have to be an absolute burner to carve out a role for yourself. So I think he's going to be pretty good. Did you have anything else on Martin Emerson?
Nothing else on Martin Emerson, but you just brought up the next guy, and that's David Bell. First and foremost, a lot of people don't. I'm not sure that a lot of people know this, but that pick actually was a pick that was given because of the rule change, the Rooney rule change that happened, I believe, in the 2020 season. I don't know exactly what it stands for, but they call it the JC2A rule. So essentially what happened is because the Browns developed a minority candidate who eventually got hired for a front office position for another team, they actually got rewarded that pick. And I can't remember his name as of right now. I thought I jotted it down, but I didn't. But it's actually the GM that got hired in the end of January, so pretty much end of season for the Minnesota Vikings. So because that happened and they developed him, that's where they got that pick, and that's what they spent to get David Bell. So I think you already touched on how great his hands are. A lot of people who may not know, he had the most receptions in the FBS since 2019. He's expected to work underneath. I think now, this is a little bit more so than a week ago. We've kind of heard that the likelihood of bringing Jarvis back is very, very much dwindling down. So I think this was actually a great pick because he's expected. David Bell's expected to work underneath. And it's a better option too. Especially for the money. Right now, Cleveland is a little bit in a situation with the whole Baker Mayfield thing going on. Like the league, and if you check out our Facebook page, you'll see what I had to say about what the league's like, what people are expecting the Browns to do. I'm not okay with it because everyone's saying, "Oh, cut Baker, cut Baker." You don't have these expectations for any other team. It's like the league wants Cleveland to be bad. Baker Mayfield's he's not getting done dirty. The truth of the matter is it's a business. And I don't understand when people decided that the NFL just wasn't a business because it involves the Cleveland Browns. He's owed $19 million. Last time I checked, if you're getting paid, you're expected to come and play. He doesn't have to, but what comes along with that is not cutting him so he can go and make some money somewhere else. You sit on the bench and you rot, man. That's it. I'm sorry about your luck, but you're going to have to renegotiate that contract and give back some money, or one of these teams who thinks they're playing hardball is going to have to come off of the money and pay up on his contract. It's $19 million. It's a deal. It's a deal, regardless of how bad he is, because they can go and sign him long term if he ends up being good, and if not, they can cut ties and they're not stuck with money on the books. But in the long run, because Cleveland doesn't know what's going on with this $19 million, they can't overreact. So they're not going to go out here and they're not going to make a bunch of big moves so they can, or a big mistake and go and pay Jarvis Landry a ton of money. As much as I'd love to have DK Metcalf or Debo 30 minutes north catching passes, they're not going to overreact and do that either, because it could really put them in a financial stranglehold later on down the season, or later on down the line. The one thing that we do know about Cleveland is they are becoming a destination, and they're going to become even more of a destination once Watson's cases have conceded. So as of right now, I think some more veteran players would probably want to come here, but the idea of potentially having Watson gone for the season might have a little bit something to do with it. But that's going to be handled, and it's going to be done eventually down the line, and guys will be here playing. The only other local with that, the last leading off one, was just the kicker, Kate York. People laugh about when kickers are drafted in fantasy football and in real life too. But hey, it worked out for the Cincinnati Bengals. They have Evan McPherson, and he is a stud. So I hope this guy Kate ends up being the same. I believe they did cut their other two kickers, so apparently this is the guy that they're rocking with, and there's no competition there. So, and the other guy's name was Blewett, Chris Blewett or something like that. So, that's not some guy that you want kicking field goals that you needed anyway, man.
That's a terrible last name. That's for real his name?
Yeah, the kicker the kicker that they had on the roster already was like, I don't know if his first name was Chris, but his last name was definitely Blewett. And I'm just hey, we're already accustomed to all the stories and all the jokes and everything that runs through Cleveland and Cleveland sports. We don't need to go miss a big game kick and have it be a guy named Blewett. So
terrible.
All in all, man, I was very, very impressed with their draft. Like I said, regaining some of those draft picks was probably the biggest thing. But I look forward to a lot of these guys to make impacts like out the gate. Maybe not Emerson just because of the depth at the position, but like I said, that might be a little bit more long term than anything else.
Right, no doubt about it. I think he's legit talking to David Bell, and if Alex Wright gets some PT, like if Clowney doesn't re-sign, he's going to make an impact this season. It's going to be nice. Well, I think the draft went really good for the Cleveland Browns. So for my local take, I want to talk about the Defiance Bulldogs. Real quick, they clinched the WBL title already. And this is how they scored their second run. There wasn't a whole lot of offense, but that's Braden Goulet on the mound for Wapakoneta. I hope I'm saying that right. But Wapakoneta's in the white and red there. But I've picked the Defiance Bulldogs to win states for D2 this season. And as you can see here, this is high school baseball. First and foremost, I really wonder if the catcher forgot that there was a guy on third, or if that was a play, because we used to run a play back in the day where we would try to bait that guy from third to run. But the issue is when the second baseman comes in to take the ball, to get the ball, he has to cut the ball off a lot closer. He basically has to be running in towards the mound, catch that ball, to try to either flip it over to third real quick and get him, or turn around and see what he can do if he can flip the ball to second, anything like that. But he didn't come cut the ball off. The catcher may have forgot that there was a guy on third. The throw was high. There wasn't a lot of offense, so they scratched those runs out the best way they could. And it was a classic pitchers duel with Goulet, and then Jaden Jurgen was on the mound for Defiance, and he shut him out as he normally does. The guy's ERA is 0.38, 0.038. That's absurd. That's ridiculous.
He might be the best high school pitcher since Marshall Jonas.
But maybe. Oh, you know what? Maybe. Hey, Marshall could toss the ball back in the day. He was pretty solid. So congratulations to Defiance. They clinched, and now they're gonna compete further on, and we'll be covering every step of the way. And I can't wait. I'm definitely gonna make a 3-hour drive and go watch them play. See if I can interview some people real fast. So we're gonna hit this button. Blah! Transition.
Wait.
All right, so we're talking about suspensions in sports. All right, there's lots to talk about here. And namely some of the big names right now: Trevor Bauer, and who else? What was the other guy you had on the rundown?
I believe I listed DeAndre Hopkins too.
Hopkins, right?
Yeah, with his PED suspension or whatnot.
Of course, right. So basically, there are some rules. There are aspects of suspensions that it just comes down to the commissioner. And then there's some where they have to follow standard procedure, like in Major League Baseball. If you get caught with steroids in your system, it's half the season, bam, you're out. The next time is a whole season. The third time you are banned from the game. So they've set that precedent, but there's leeway in other aspects. And I think it's kind of funny how it goes, because if it's domestic violence or if it's sexual assault, like in Trevor Bauer's case, or if it's like in Adrian Peterson's case, child abuse, I guess I shouldn't throw the air quotes up because he kind of jacked his kid up pretty good there. When it comes to those things, there's a little bit of leeway and gray area, I guess you could say. Whereas in my mind, it should be standard procedure for all, because accusations are accusations when it comes down to it. And every league's going to have to conduct their investigations. That's just how it's going to have to go. And then make your determination on which tier it falls into there. Because I want to reference Aroldis Chapman. In 2015, the MLBPA came out and they made the domestic violence laws and policies. And then Aroldis Chapman was the first one to catch a charge after that. So he got the hammer laid down on him, and he was suspended for 30 games on charges that were not brought against him. That was solely on the accusation that he got the 30 games. Now, the MLB did do investigations. So they determined that, okay, even though this lady didn't press charges against you, technically, we see what happened here. And you're going to miss a little bit over about a quarter of the season. I think that's fine. I think it's okay. But what about when charges are brought against them? Because a lot of these guys, they aren't. Even Ray Rice didn't have any charges brought against him either. But we all know the deal. These guys got money. They got connections. They got whatever. Rarely are charges going to be brought against them. But his suspension was heavy. And then his exoneration eventually is that was the result of the situation. But what have you seen, Dolsky, with the suspensions in sports in general? What do you think about them?
Well, see, the problem is they are very inconsistent, and it is because I think more so it's because of the court of public opinion. It's like these leagues are kind of being forced to make decisions because, the way that social media has become such a huge basis for everyday life. It's easy to pump up across the entire world that, this league doesn't care about sexual abuse or domestic violence or whatever the case may be. Now, this is where, and I think you kind of pointed to it being a gray area. It's tough to even talk about this because the moment that someone hears the words that they want to hear, they can actually start deeming me as one of the people who just don't care about any of those things happening. I can tell you that's not anywhere further from the truth.
Yeah, we're definitely not promoting domestic violence by any stretch of the imagination, right?
Yeah.
To clear it up for everybody out there.
And it's just like, you know, you have to get the details because people do lie about things. I mean, and you know, I'm gonna really bring up the conversation. I wish I would have thought about it because I would have loaded up the text messages. I'll just have to bring it back on another show one day so everybody can see. But I think about the Ezekiel Elliott situation all of the time. And there are text messages that you can Google, pull up on your own, and they are as clear as day of his accuser sending messages to her friend asking to lie and say that Zeke did this and he did that. So the courts actually threw this case out, but he still gets suspended for 6 games for just being involved. And I am nowhere close to a Cowboys fan. I don't care if they win. I don't care if they lose. I don't care if I watch them if one of my teams isn't involved. So like I have no benefit in this matter, but how the hell do you justify suspending a guy? Like that's like me, like I could pretty much go and say like, hey, this person hit me, and then they're like, okay, well, we gotta suspend you for 6 games. It just doesn't add up. And you know, I think the biggest one right now, of course, the whole Trevor Bauer situation is a really big deal after everything we heard. I still think there's a little bit of some uncertainties there, at least for me, because you know it seems like it was consenting until it wasn't, kind of type thing. We don't really know what's going on in bedrooms.
There was
That's
a
one of those things where
lack of a safety word.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, it's just one of those things where it's like, all right, well, you know, I get it to an extent, but then I feel like the whole 2 years was probably a little bit overboard because at some point there was consent. But hey, the MLB is going to do what they want to do. And I wish Jeff was on here, and you know, I'll go ahead and kind of make his point about it because I know that he's been stressing it. But you know, they could be setting up to pretty much make an example and try to upstage the NFL, because we obviously all know about the Deshaun Watson situation and what's pending with that. I think I've gone over that situation on several occasions. So, you know, from the start of me believing that this is all happened through the owners, the McNairs of the Houston Texans. You know, like this all started when Cal McNair called the players inmates when they were talking about kneeling. I believe his exact comment was, we can't let the inmates run the prison. And then later on down the line, there's the whole thing with the GM where they hired an outside agency, and the 2 candidates that the agency chose were both African American, and they went with a white GM still. So after that, Deshaun Watson decides he wants to be traded, and next thing you know, these accusations come out, and it just is very odd that all 22 of these women are represented by a lawyer that lives on the same street and is really good friends with the McNairs. So, you know, it especially with it being in Texas and me thinking back to the Ezekiel Elliott situation, I'm just like, God, what goes on down there? I mean, I'm not saying that nothing happened, but, you know, I just, these leagues are being forced into some of these decisions. And it's because if you look online, I think everyone knows at this point, and you bring up Deshaun Watson, you're going to bring in an entire herd of people who are already deeming him guilty, when in America I thought it was innocent until proven guilty. But apparently that changes with him, and I'm not going to give my reason of why I think that is. But it's happening everywhere. It's happening everywhere. And the league does need to set a standard now. They do need to set, you know, beforehand it was okay for the, even when they got it wrong, you know, because I think that Ray Rice, remember, I think Commissioner Goodell initially said that he didn't see the video or something like that. And then TMZ comes out and they were like, hey, no, we sent you that video.
Yeah, definitely got the video. Yeah.
So these commissioners, you know, beforehand, they were using their own judgment and kind of handling it the way they wanted to. But now you're probably better off just setting a standard for everything, because we want to know why Josh Gordon's getting suspended for smoking something that's legal in 32, 34 states or something like that. But then, you know, you have, try and think of an example, but, you know, someone getting 6 games for hitting their domestic partner. It just
right. And then Myles Garrett was blatant now, and I love Myles Garrett, but he did totally rip homeboy's own helmet off and crack him in the face with it. He got 6 games.
Yeah.
He only got 6 games for that. That's pretty egregious, man. And then Marquise Pouncey, within the same play, basically was stomping and kicking Browns players in the end zone. He got 2 games. These are really egregious acts that were also caught on camera. You know what I mean? So it's like the consistency is incredible. They need to just come out with standard procedure. What's coming next? Boom, right. Boom, boom. Get it done. Stop trying to judge everything and just throw it in a box. Throw it in that category. This is what you get. This is what you get. This is what you get. Bam. You know what I mean? It's crazy to me that they get to have this gray area to make decisions.
And the other thing about it is, it's not like, honestly, like once they set these standards, stop listening to what all of these so-called fans want you to do. Go based off your actual guidelines, because truth be told, man, like, I mean, these fans aren't leaving. They're not. I love it. I love it so much to hear, like, we're not watching the Browns. But you know how many people said they weren't watching or paying attention to the Browns? They were done with the Browns when they signed Watson. Well, go back to Cleveland Browns websites now. Go back and look at them, and you see some of these same names who are still commenting about the Cleveland Browns, who still plan on going and watching the Browns.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's not like we're going to go and keep an inventory. It's not like we're going to be like, hey, there you are. You said you weren't. No, we're not going to do that. They're still out there. They're not going anywhere. They're just trying to scare you into making these decisions. Like, there's no reason to make any big decisions until all of the information comes in. And you know what? If somebody got away with something temporarily and got to play, make that part of the guidelines. Like, hey, you know what? You can play, but if we find out that Deshaun Watson was guilty, then he owes us those game checks.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, fine. Yeah, give it to the city of Cleveland. I'll take a piece of Watson's paycheck. Bring it on. Bring it on. And just one more comment about it. It's just so crazy to me. Greg Hardy and there was a backup offensive lineman for the Seattle Seahawks at the same time as Greg Hardy was going through his thing that put his girlfriend basically on her deathbed. He tried to kill her. He thought she was dead. He was drinking this is a real story. He was drinking a smoothie in the kitchen as she ran by the kitchen opening, and he goes, "Oh, wow, you're alive still?" And she runs into a room and locks the door and whatever and gets a hold of the police. This guy had to go to counseling. I don't believe he's still in the league, actually, but I don't think it was because of that issue. And at the same time, Greg Hardy, those pictures came out of his fiance that he beat up. He was back playing for the Cowboys in no time.
Yep.
I mean, I'm like, yo, it's real crazy to me, man.
Pac-Man Jones, Sean Merriman. I think Sean Merriman almost killed Tila Tequila. The league's been getting it wrong for a very, very long time. And like I said, it's just because they're hasty to go and make these decisions. But I mean, when you start, like I said, when you start trying to figure out how to justify these amount of games and stuff like that, it makes it hard, because I'm still trying to sit here and figure out why exactly do you get the same amount of games for whooping your significant others, as Tom Brady got for supposedly deflating football.
Deflating footballs. Right. Insane how that goes. Unbelievable. Insane in the midbrain, but we switching. Boy, hold on. Let's get this graphic up. Hey, it's time for some fantasy talk. Hey now. So pumped. I'm so ready for this, Joe. I've been waiting for a fantasy segment for too long, and I am ready to rock. Okay, I'm going to give you my top 10 Dynasty fantasy rankings. Mine match up with Jeff Ratcliffe's, if you can believe that. This is my guy. I really, really like Jeff Ratcliffe's work, and I kind of figure most of what he says is like the Bible. So we're going at, let's start with 10. Trey McBride. Oh, wow. That's pretty crazy. Dalton Schultz, Pat Fryermuth, Darren Waller, Dallas Goedert, TJ Hawkinson, Travis Kelce at 4, Kittle at 3, Mark Andrews at 2, and Kyle Pitts at 1. Now, of all of the analysts that I see here, Matthew Friedman, Jeff Ratcliffe, and a couple other guys, everybody's got Pitts, Andrews, Kittle, Kelce in that order, except one guy's got Kelce above Kittle. And this is Dynasty, so their age matters, the situation matters, and their volume, clearly, of course. Now, Kyle Pitts last year did not tear it up for fantasy. And for fantasy purposes, he was slightly above average of a tight end. He was no Kelce, he was no Andrews, whatever. The situation didn't dictate that. But what did happen was Kyle Pitts broke the tight end rookie record for catches and yards in the season, and that is incredible. Look, the arrow's pointing up on this guy. Hold on, let's go ahead and play this. Let's play the clip of this guy balling out right here. Is Kyle Pitts. His hands, he didn't have a single drop in college. Never dropped the ball. Did he drop the ball last year? I don't think so, but I'm going to go ahead and look that up and make sure I'm not lying to y'all. But the guy's hands are real. His route running is crispy. And his volume is only going to get a little bit higher. It's going to be higher than it was last year. There's still no Calvin Ridley because he gambled $1,500 and lost $11 million, if you can believe that. They just got a receiver. So it's like they have one guy. They've got one guy. It doesn't matter that Marcus Mariota or Desmond is gonna be under center. Doesn't even matter. The volume's gonna be amazing. Look at this. The concentration that it takes to get that catch done right there is remarkable. The guy's a special talent. He should be number 1 across the board on everybody's board always. So, and he's crazy young. What do you think, Joe? What you got for your top 10 Dynasty fantasy tight ends?
First and foremost, I am excited to be doing this myself. For any of those out there listening that don't know, we actually transitioned over to a Dynasty league and this year, our home league. And this is probably a long time coming, we've had the same group of guys forever. So, having the opportunity to sit down and do these rankings is actually I found it to be very, very fun. Even with us starting with tight end. To tell you the truth, I went to 20 and I rearranged my list. So I got into this a lot more than I thought I was going to.
20?
Yeah, I went to 20. I'm only going to do 10, but I actually I started writing down names and everything. And I was like, ooh, you know what? I enjoy this. So I can't wait to get to some of the other positions as well. But anyone who watched us last year on Fantasy for Breakfast, they know that picking tight ends for us was kind of skeptical more often than not, because once you get past a certain group, it levels out tremendously.
There was a couple weeks we hit huge on tight end, massive. There were a few weeks, but I think the fantasy community understands that this is a very tough position to pick every single week, like outside of season long. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
when it comes to DFS, sheesh, sometimes it's a dart throw. That's just how it is.
Oh, yeah. That dart throw more often than not. I don't know if I would use the word sometimes, but there are guys you can count on a little bit more than others. And I believe you touched on the exact same thing that I was going to say. I think age and situation factor in the most here. So that's where my rankings are going to look really similar to some of you guys out there. Really the top end mostly, and then the back end is going to get a little bit fluky a little bit for lack of term. So, yeah, starting off number 1, no doubt about it, man. 21 years old, Kyle Pitts, man. And, he's just an animal. I mean, honestly, everything about his body of work, he didn't seem to pop off the page last year, but a second-year guy in the offense. The one thing I do hate is the fact that, he has to go with another quarterback, but that might not necessarily be a bad thing. But yeah, in the long run with Drake London there now, I mean, Kyle Pitts is probably going to be the guy hands down that you want to go ahead and get a hold of. And then just to follow up exactly what Drew said, I have Mark Andrews at 2, George Kittle at 3, and Travis Kelce at 4. Age-wise, I'm just going to shoot through them real quick so I don't blow everyone's time. But, Mark Andrews is 27, George Kittle is 28, and then Travis Kelce is 32. So, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people out there wondering why we have Travis Kelce at 4. The age is just catching up to him. It is
catching up. The production is still fire though, and the only thing is with Travis Kelce, I agree with him being up there that high at the age he is because the production. He has Pat Mahomes. He's got Pat Mahomes. That's huge.
And he says
entering Kansas City as someone who's going to catch the ball is way high on the list.
Absolutely, and the familiarity there. Apparently, I can't talk for whatever reason, but what Tyreek Hill being gone, that's going to be Patrick Mahomes' safety blanket for the most part. Not that it already wasn't, So, but I think a lot of people still, this is one of those things where you go post it up on the board. I bet you get a lot of people who are like, "What? How is Travis Kelce not one?" Once again, we're talking about dynasty ranking. It's the age 32 season, so. I think that's where that falls. But then my 5 and on is where, I think we're going to kind of blow some minds here. I have Pat Freiermuth at 23. At number 5. I'm sorry, he's 23 years old. I have him at number 5. He actually had really solid numbers last year. And now you go ahead and you have to understand that there's going to be a new quarterback. We don't know which guy it's going to be. Let's assume that it's Kenny Pickett. If it is, then that's actually sets up to bowl a lot better for Freiermuth. So I really, really, really like him a lot more and moved him way further up my rankings than I thought than I initially planned on. I think before the draft, I had him somewhere around like that 9 to 10 range. But then after that, I have Dallas Goedert, Darren Waller. Waller is one of the ones where you think he would be a little bit higher too.
Dude, he got to stay on the field.
Yep,
He's
exactly.
Stay on the field,
and he's nearing that age 30 now. He's going to be 29 years old, and he's often injured. And then we're talking about an offense that was starting to favor Hunter Renfrow a lot last year. And before Ruggs went out with obviously the car accident and everything else, it was favoring him as well. They still have a running game, and then they just brought this guy into the offense named Devontae Adams. Him and Derek Carr were teammates back in college, so he's going to get his targets. They broke records. Can't even remember where they played. I did all the research on it, but Adams Carr is going to be something a little bit nice to watch. So Darren Waller does seem to drop off a little bit because of that. They want to keep him on the field because they need him to win. Dalton Schultz is going to benefit from Amari Cooper being gone. He was benefiting with Amari Cooper being there and barely being on the field because of random injuries. He was the most targeted receiver when defenses were playing zone on the Dallas Cowboys. So he's going to be a big part again. Dawson Knox at number 9. I actually switched him and Pat Freiermuth. Dawson Knox, this is one of those things where I still expect him to be very heavily involved, but they are doing a little bit more. Now that they got rid of Cole Beasley and whatnot, and you think that would bowl for more targets, but I think they're going to start getting Isaiah McKenzie a little bit more heavily involved, and then drafting James Cook. I think that they're going to get him involved.
Passing down back right there.
Yeah, so I think that knocks down a little bit. And they also brought in O.J. Howard for 2 tight end sets, so they might get crafty. It's your boy O.J. And then at number 10, I have T.J. Hawkinson at 25. And he's somebody else that moved down too. Obviously with St. Brown coming in on last season. And, they like to throw out of the backfield as well. And then they picked up a guy in the draft. I can't think of his name. Might have been Jameson Williams. Was that?
I think you're right, and he's a beast.
Yeah,
he's a monster. I like him a lot.
Yeah, so some of these guys got knocked down, but I still think that their production level is high enough just because they're involved in the offense enough for them to still stay within that top 10. I'm not going to go outside of this list any more than I did. Like I said, I did do 20, but I am going to throw out my 11, which is a Phantom. And I could be completely wrong about this, but this might be Evan Ingram season, man.
Wow.
You know, they sent him to Jacksonville. They went and signed Christian Kirk to the big deal. Marvin Jones is still out there. You know, they're going to look to get Trevor Lawrence going this year, and you know, this might be his true rookie season. So we've been waiting for Evan Ingram to do something in New York for years, and he's shown some flashes and signs. I think that he might have a role carved out for him.
I hope so. I really, really hope so. I do, because the talent's there. He's got the hands and the size. He just wasn't – they didn't love him in New York all like that. He had one decent season, and he kind of disappointed every time after that. But like you said, they need to get Lawrence going this year. Everyone should give the whole team a pass for last year. They had the world's worst coach, hands down, right? Like this, and everybody was so confused in the beginning. Do we remember us questioning why is Carlos Hyde the starting running back in Jacksonville? What's happening here? Like they have James Robinson. What's going on? Like, So, Urban Meyer didn't even know who Robinson was. He just didn't know. He didn't know who Aaron Donald was. He heard number 99 for the Rams could be a problem for them. He didn't know that he needed to game plan against Deebo Samuel. The article is on The Athletic, and I suggest everybody go check it out. It's just absolutely amazing. It's signature segment time. Woo, woo. Hey, now. We doing quick takes. Bam, 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 bam. We going to hit them real quick. All right, Joski Doski, you ready to talk about power rankings? MLB's top 5 teams in your opinion. Go.
So yeah, I'm gonna make this one quick. So 1 through 5, I have the Dodgers, the Mets. Don't make me say 3. And if anyone doesn't understand that, just know. Number 4, the Blue Jays, and 5, the Giants. And then, you know, really, you guys know how I am with baseball. You know, it's a long season. I have to just say this. Last, I don't care if they're not really last. I know there are teams that have worse records, but last right now, Red Sox, man. What the hell is going on? Don't talk to me anymore about baseball until July, and then depending on what happens then, possibly 2023. We'll decide when July comes. But boy, and my boy's bad. So those are my top 5.
Yeah.
And I hate baseball much right now.
All right.
Very much.
It's tough. They're having a tough time up there in Boston. That's for sure. They're not the easiest of times. All right. So number 1 for me right now, I'm going with the New York Mets. They look so good right now. The Milwaukee Brewers are still figuring out ways to win, even though their pitching's been a little bit spotty and their hitting's been a little bit spotty, but they're still 19-10. They're kind of like the Rays and the Giants. They just figure out ways to win, and they're dangerous always. I got to go with the Dodgers. The Dodgers are before Milwaukee, so those are 3 teams right there. And then I'm going to go with New York Yankees. That was a team you refused to say, but the thing about the Yankees, here's the thing. My 5th is really going to blow your mind because their record isn't that great, and they are just now getting hot. But for number 4, the Yankees, dude, them getting rid of Gary Sanchez has meant the world. It's meant everything. They are preventing runs by having a catcher back there that can actually stop the ball, that knows how to play the catcher position. That's a huge, huge deal. So they're doing really well there. And at number 5, I'm going with oh man, it's so tough between the Angels and the doggone Atlanta Braves. The Angels and the Braves. I'm not sure who to pick there. I like both of them, so I'm gonna make them tie, and we'll see. We'll see what happens when we come back to it. Okay, the other quick hitter, NBA playoffs and Kentucky Derby. So, what quick thoughts about the NBA playoffs before we'll forget about the Derby. We all saw it. Nobody had any money on him. That's my quick take on that. No one had any money on Horse 21. Stop it. Unbelievable. NBA playoff quick take, Joski.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say about the Derby myself, man. Like, all I'm going to say is, hey, that's just my luck. So, yeah, I won't be betting on
Exactly.
it again until next year when I'm betting on it again. But NBA playoffs, I mean, we know where I'm going here. This has been the same since the playoffs started. And I'm just going to ramble for a minute. I can't stand watching Giannis Antetokounmpo play basketball. Like, this guy, I don't understand I don't get it. I really wish Andy was on this show because he could probably just lay it out a lot better than I can. But there's just nothing special about him other than him being big and fast, and the league just lets him get away with murder. Like, my team is doing every single thing they can to hang into these games, but it's just like the way that they officiate for this guy, it's just awful. He's throwing elbows and hitting people in the chest, and it's either you get out of the way or you take it and you get assessed a foul.
Is that the picture you wanted up there?
Yeah, this particular thing, like, this should have been a flagrant 2. Like, I tried to upload the video, but all I could get was the picture. Like, he had no chance of that block whatsoever, and he damn near took Jason Tatum's head off on that, sent Jason Tatum flying into the post and into the crowd, and they call this a common foul. A common foul.
Didn't look.
Like,
that doesn't look common.
like this guy, like, he does the same thing every single time he's down the court too. He dribbles into the paint, he backs out, he then just charges forward. Like, you could call him for a charge every single play. Like, and I'm just tired of seeing it over and over and over again because it's like I promise you the series probably would be done if the NBA wasn't allowing him to get away with what he's getting away with. And it's analysts everywhere who are saying it. You're listening to the games and you hear Stan Van Gundy talking about it. You're hearing Jalen Rose talk about it. If you have the image, look what Michael Wilbon said. Like, it's unheard of, man. Like, it's let's see, yeah. Look, he's likely the best player in the world now, but the notion that you should just be allowed to bowl people over without offensive fouls being called is preposterous. Everyone sees it. Like, why are they allowing him to just get away with it? It's ridiculous. And that it's bad because, they have replays now in the NBA. And when they do these replays, these referees give these crazy, like, explanations for it. When they're giving that explanation, you know exactly why. It's a lot more detailed than any other review because they're trying to justify why they're giving this guy these superstar calls. They are. But I've never in my life have I seen one play happen on one end of the court and be completely judged so much differently than the other. We watched him charge over 3 players, and then we turn around, and then I think they call Grant Williams for an offensive foul on it might have been, it wasn't McConnell, it was Grayson Allen. And then they showed the replay, and Grayson Allen's feet are moving. So I'm beyond it, man. Like, what I'm confused on is, like, look, why do you have replay in basketball? Just get rid of it. If you're not going to make the right call, why aren't they doing it like the rest of the leagues? Like, it's funny because you get one challenge. If you miss the challenge, you don't get another. I think if you get it right, I don't think you get another. So you get one challenge. Why don't they do automatic reviews at under 20 or under 2 minutes? Why don't they do something? What's the point of having it if you're not going to get these calls right? And that leads me to the very last point. Like, if you watch that game on Saturday, and what I really wanted was the goaltend. There was a goaltend under 2 minutes. Giannis jumps up, and I'll have to show you this video if you haven't seen it. The ball's clearly coming down. It was Jason Tatum shot. They didn't call it, so couldn't review that. There was a foul on Jaylen Brown driving to the hoop. Blatant foul, and this is when they were up by 1. Didn't call it. And then the one that had every analyst, I mean, Shaq and Charles and everyone else talking about it, like literally everybody, was the no call on Marcus Smart's 3. He should have been shooting 3 free throws. 100%. And somehow the referees decided that it was a foul on the floor, and he got 2. And that led to how the game ended, where he actually perfectly executed the missed shot, and they got the rebound, and it was just a huddle of guys underneath just trying to tip the ball. Al Horford got the tip in, but it was right after the clock expired. But Marcus Smart should have been shooting 3 free throws with a chance to send the game to overtime. Yeah, if you want to look at this loss, you can attribute it to a lot of other things. I'm going to go ahead and be critical of my team a little bit here. Jason Tatum had the worst game of his professional career in the postseason. He played atrocious. He played awful.
Wow.
Even then, though, they fought back from 14 points down in the fourth quarter and took the lead with under a minute to go, and they just kind of got screwed over. It doesn't make sense that this is what we're watching. This is what the product that the NBA wants to put on national television for all of us to watch. It doesn't make sense to me. I also have an issue with the play calling at the very end on the Celtics part, because Jaylen Brown, even though he was hot, did take a contested 3 that he missed, and Grant Williams caught the rebound for, and they had a second chance on it, and then they got it to Marcus Smart. Now, he did have a wide open 3 that would have put the game pretty much away, because they would have been up by 4. They were up by 1 already. But why take that shot? So yeah, the play calling could have been better, but at the end of the day, when you have the goaltend, the no call, Giannis charging people over, all of this combined, it really makes me skeptical about basketball. It's like, for whatever reason, the league wants to see Giannis again in the finals, and I think it's kind of apparent at this point. Like, I don't know what else they can do. So hopefully they still won tonight, but hearing that Robert Williams isn't playing tonight really just kind of puts us in a boat. They pulled it off without Marcus Smart in game 2. Hopefully they can get some willpower and do it again. But damn, man, I'd rather see my team lose straight up than see these calls that are just getting missed blatantly by the referees, so that Giannis can be whatever it is that they want him to be, the face of the league or whatever.
Whatever their ulterior motives are, man. Hey, all right, Joe, you keep it rolling, man. Final thoughts for the day. Leave something for the people.
Man, everyone be safe out there. It's, I'm bringing this up because of a personal experience. Obviously, like I said last week, I got COVID. I don't know where I got it from. It just kind of came out of nowhere, but that's how COVID works. I truly think it was my first time having it. I thought that I had it before until I felt what I felt like last Monday, and then Tuesday and Wednesday, and then luckily I started getting better. Scary thought, honestly. There's people out there who feel worse than I felt like. So, if you go look it up, the surge is out there. Some people take it serious, some people don't. Just be safe. Like, pay attention to your surroundings, wash your hands, do all those things that they told us to do before, because there is another large surge coming around, and you don't want to go out and get that. It was not great whatsoever. So I'm glad that, like I said, I'm recovering, and I have a completely newfound respect for how serious it is, and I thought it was serious already. So I just want everybody to kind of keep that in mind and be safe while they're out there, and take care of yourselves.
No doubt about it. Hey, yes, make good decisions. Make the best decisions that you can, or don't, whatever.
We'll do it live.
You can't even get it right after 5 takes. Why would I agree to do it live?
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
No, fuck you. We're not going to do it live.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
How are you going to write it? You can't even read it. You troglodyte homunculus. Last chance. In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks again for watching. We'll leave you with Sting and a cut off his new album. Take it away.